but
for sure,
with the
100%.
same client and the one, yeah. And it was 2 different hearings, so it was kind of weird. But I mean,
Randy,
definitely the listing side's a no-brainer. What's up?
I was talking to a couple of the agents in the office this last week, and we were talking about adding a clause in a buyer and seller contract, saying that if for any reason the contract was canceled, that they would owe $500 or $750 or $1,000 as a deferred retaining fee. So that would help prevent buyers from going around saying, no, I'm not represented. I'm not working with anybody. And they go buy from somebody else because the sign went in the yard, they pulled in the driveway and bought it. And you're sitting there with egg on your face. There's not a lot of meat
That's a good idea.
in the buyer contracts as far as, all they have to do is write on a piece of paper, you're not my agent anymore, and you're done. So I'd like you to take that under advisement and see if that's something that we could do at our firm, or maybe even push that through the board somehow to have that as a new addition, since we're doing all these millions of form changes all the time. Can't they add something like that? And what does everybody feel that an appropriate getaway fee would be? Especially with the
A
gas
lot of times it's
prices.
$2,500. Especially what?
So especially with the new gas prices.
Yeah. So it's kind of common that people put something into a listing contract because you got time, effort, energy assigned in the yard. And so I've seen $2,500 pretty often on something like that. And so if they try to cancel, they would have to pay it. And it'd be pretty easy to get in a conciliation court, which only costs $70 to go to, or hopefully they just pay it, But they're going to sit around and say, well, you haven't been doing your job or something like that. And then they're going to start giving a bunch of 5-star or 1-star bad reviews online. That's why in the past people don't charge that fee when somebody leaves them, because it's pretty easy now with the digital world to throw somebody under the bus and get bad reviews. Every now and then we have an agent that does something and then it reflects really bad on the company.
Right.
So I guess it's just you put it in there and decide maybe individually if you walk away or not based on the scenario. You could definitely put it into any contract. $1,000
Yeah.
on a buyer, that's totally reasonable.
I do think that it has to have some reinforcement meat to it. If we put it in our contracts and then we don't have backing from our company to go after them, they'll say, well, I'm not paying that. Is it the individual's responsibility to go ahead and pursue a conciliation court action?
Well, they can't pay you anyways.
That's what I'm saying, Randy. The broker is involved in it.
I think that's an honor system.
Well, yeah,
you're not going to spend your time and money going after somebody. Just work on getting more business, in my opinion.
Yeah, I personally aren't going to file a court claim and go retrieve somebody's $1,000 and spend 10 hours of my time. So, basically, the agent would have to do it on behalf of the company. I can guide them and I'll support it, but I'm not going to court for it. I wind up with a couple $100. I don't have time for that.
And you would get ripped online.
Well, that's what I mean. It's kind of like a double-edged sword.
Yeah, but
so what I say is what you do is you put it on there, and if you get it, you get it. If they're really arguing and threatening things, then you decide to walk away. I think half the time you'd wind up getting it.
Maybe. I'm sure they'd ghost you.
A lot of people just won't cancel because they know about the clause.
Yeah, that's true.
Especially a listing.
Well, it might help retain your buyers and sellers that you've already invested time, effort, gas, scrutiny, the whole 10 yards. It might help in putting just that extra little tooth in a contract. But I appreciate what you're saying about company image, though, too. If somebody's had their feet held to the fire, if it were to go to even a small claims litigation, they could try to come back, like you said, well, you didn't call us or you didn't show us any property for 10 hours. You know, that's why I want out, or something like that. I don't know where you draw the line in the sand. I appreciate what you're saying. But I do
Yeah, I
think
mean,
if we
let's
put
read.
it in our contracts that it would help.
Right. I don't think it's a bad idea at all. I just, the rep agreement, we should maybe just pick to either pull one up or another time that we go over the agreement, because, if you did your job, you're entitled to the money. Procuring cause, the realtor board won't always award you the money, but
Right.
let's see.
I
guess
think
I'm
the
not.
reality is, I mean, on the listing, yes, we definitely spend money on pictures, time, comps, whatever. But if someone doesn't want to do business with me, it's probably
Yeah.
mutual, right? So it just is what it is. I mean, that's why we get paid the big bucks, right? Like
That's right.
Yeah. It's either mutual or somebody's coming in trying to
for
offer
sure,
discounts
Randy,
or something like
for
that.
sure. That
And
is
then
the
that would
only
be
thing that sucks. So where that would come into play is like, okay, it's not really a discount if you're gonna have to pay me a fee to exit the listing. But yeah, other people barking in
well,
their ear,
no,
not
but
following rules.
if somebody gets a little frustrated that their house didn't sell, and then all of a sudden they get approached by another agent's random mailing by accident because they didn't know they were under contract, and then they call them and the agent starts pursuing the listing, and if that agent's offering discounts, they can save a little money and get a new agent. Well, then some people are really going to call you up with a bunch of excuses and try to get out of your contract, right? And so that $2,000 is something you just hold over their head. Yeah, we'll let you out. Just pay us the fee.
Copy that.
Liz?
Can you hear me? Yeah, I think it's no different than it's always been. And I think traditionally, realtors have just kind of had to put up with the fact that people may do these things. And yes, are they unethical? Yes, should you not approach people? Yes, should the people who are on your list, you've got a listing from them, or you are working actively as a buyer's agent, they will do those things because despite all our efforts to read those contracts with them and get them to understand what this means as an agreement, they still will do those things. And I have always decided in favor of just saying, okay, goodbye, again, with the idea of goodwill. And also, again, with the idea that something that's held up by any kind of contractual litigation is really not in our best interests. So I would have a question about when or how and where to apply that. And the position, I believe, I was on the forums committee also at MAR, so I do know a little bit about this. It was more on commercial forms at that time, but I've also been on committee to discuss contract deed. And I think the position of not anyone else's, so they would not be you collect any kind of fee like that. And the liability for them would be way too large, just as in a way, Randy, you're indicating that liability in general would really not be in our best interest to take that up for another agent. And yet we want to be supportive of agents and of the law of agency in general. So it is really a difficult dilemma, kind of a fine line.
Yeah. Well, I know we can write it into the agreement now if somebody wanted to do that they owe money. It's just a matter of how collecting it. So that's a good idea, Lynn. I had to walk away from this. That's yeah. I like that. And then Lynn, that's a good idea on adding it so anybody can do that. I got to check out for.
Sounds good, Randall. Anything else on your plates, guys? Mastermind about?
We one thing, Ren, that we did joining, the whole idea of all these forms changes, I wonder if it would be worth our time to take a look at making some of those templates now as the August changes are going into effect, and also the possibility of making sure that when we go into our site to find the forms, that redundant or too old forms just simply don't show up. I think we all probably need to do ourselves a little bit of an editorial cleanup. I know I do. So we might, if anybody has any suggestions to make that easier, I'd sure like to hear them.
Okay, I heard that. I'm going to try to help another agent here, and then but I heard that, and so I just wanted to say that I was going to suggest we do a forms update training, either separately or in a mastermind group. Neal can decide that if, and you know, we'll go over the new changes and then maybe point out exactly where forms are so that there's not confusion. But there won't be double forms. Every form and the updated forms are either dated or the previous versions are dated if they still exist on the portal. But we have a form training. Basically, I'm looking at them right now. I mean, they start in a few days, so we're definitely going to have a training on the updates. I'll be back in a moment.
I've got a quick question for everybody, if you have a second, about a customer who wants to do something, but I'm not really sure that we need to do it this way. It's a listing, and they drain their swimming pool. We have a picture of what the swimming pool used to look like. It looks nothing like that at this point. They want to put it on the MLS. I say I don't think that that's a good idea. Just have a picture of it in the house so that when people come through. Any ideas there? Any suggestions or feelings about that?
That is a question. If you put it in the listing, I would definitely make notes that picture was of pool prior to, you know, whatever, when it was full. I don't know.
I would say don't put it in. If it's not the way it looks today, I don't think we should, because I think it's important that when someone, especially today, because people are doing a lot more of the looking before they go anywhere further, and we want all those pictures to reflect accurately what that property is, what the expectations of a buyer can be, and how it's going to look when they get there. So if we were to use it, we would have to date whatever it was, just like if you're going to use a virtual furniture, you have to identify and not hype up somebody's expectation to see a spectacular.
It takes one person to say, well, wait a minute, that's not there like that, because they didn't read the caption. What do you think about putting it in the supplements though, with a good explanation?
I don't think anyone, I mean, my thoughts are, I mean, people do virtual staging all the time. It's up to you, Michael. As long as you disclose it, put it in the MLS. If you don't want to do that, then have the picture. Either way, people are going to see the pool the way it is, but it might get more people to look at the property, and they might not care. You know, I don't know why they would drain it. Do they leave?
Well,
that's what I would say. I would post the picture so it doesn't look like a foreclosure and explain that it's drained because the sellers are moving and don't want to maintain it right now.
I think so too.
However, I hope they have like if it's in that condition, you know, as long as it's disclosed. The problem is that I don't know if I don't know if a pool company can test it. I don't know if they have, you know, like earmuffs for a boat motor. I don't know if they have the equipment to test the drain pool.
No, they don't. They'd have to put some water in it. But it was inspected prior to it being drained, so that's a good thing.
Oh, yeah.
And and they moved out.
Yeah, they're moving out probably in another 2 weeks. So they drained it, took the liner out. I mean, they hadn't used it for 2 years, so it looked like a pond.
Oh, well, so that's a better choice for sure to have it empty. Is it cleaned?
Yes. Well, as of tomorrow, it will be clean.
Perfect. I think you're good either way, Michael. Whoever's going to buy it is going to buy it anyways, but I think you'll attract more people there if you have the old picture with the disclosure. Whether or not that's bad, I don't know.
Yeah, me neither.
Michael, why can't they fill the pool now?
Well, because they have to put a liner in it, and the liner is going to cost, I don't know, $3,000-4,000, and they're not going to spend that money.
Oh, then don't
Is it
put the
a-
picture. I
No,
wouldn't put the
then,
picture
no, because your original conversation made it sound like it was perfectly workable
Yep.
in order
Sure.
pool, and we're not talking about the same thing. When you said they took the liner out, that really raised my thoughts about it, because I've
Yeah,
had.
that would be deceiving for
You
sure.
can't have that. That would be deceptive.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
is it above ground or in ground? I missed the beginning.
In ground.
So can't you say seller willing to reline or remove pool at buyer's discretion and include that 4,000 in the price?
We are having that discussion tomorrow.
Okay. Because
Then-
it's going to cost more than 4,000 to fill it in, probably.
Yeah.
Michael, think about bait and switch when you go to the grocery store and how upset you get when you think you're buying salad dressing for $2 and they ring it up at $6 and you say, well, it said $2, it's bait and switch. And it's this just kind of, with the liner being out, my personal opinion is they should get the liner in there. For the price of houses today, get that liner in, get that pool sparkling when it's index 106 degrees in Minnesota.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
I agree.
don't mention it, and it's a liability at that point. They should spend the money. That's my personal opinion.
Is the pool integral, whatever, to the backyard? Is it like make the backyard? Is there lots of landscaping and hardscaping around it that would be sad to take it out?
No. Matter of fact, they wanted to fill it in.
So I personally would say, that have that photo from before and say pool can be filled in, but why would you want to at this point in time? They would also reline it before closing because it should be able to get done before closing, and that include that in that price because it is a big expense if somebody else would want to fill it in. If it's not, a beautiful pool setting. We had our pool we had a big deck with an above ground and it was a big deal to take away. It wasn't a big deal to take it away. Sorry.
Well, I'm just leaning on leaving it out at this point. I'll have the discussion with the seller, and then we'll just kind of go from there. But at this point, I'm going to leave it out of the MLS. I agree with you on the bait and switch. It only takes one or two people to not read, and then walk in and go, "Oh, this isn't even ready to go. What is this?" So.
When you say leave it out, do you mean not mention the pool, or do you mean not mention that the liner's out?
Oh no, I mean the picture of it when it's full, the beautiful picture of it when it's cool and full and everything.
Yeah, I would put it in the listing or like in the house itself and say, hey, this is what it used to look like.
Right.
But
that's the right place to put it, and that's a really good idea, Neal, because they've got the hard part done. They should have a bid from a pool company and have that on the countertop.
Very good idea.
Cost, and then
one or the other, fill it in, get a bid on filling it in and fixing.
And what it costs to put in a new pool, if you had a bid from a pool company there with the liner cost, and then what a new pool costs today to put in all the cement and the labor and everything.
That's a good idea.
So that they can see that this is an added value, because a lot of times on appraisals, they don't, you know how it is.
No.
There's such controversy with pools, but when you have kids, pools are nice. When you don't have kids, they're a pain in the butt.
Well, 5 or 6 new options on here. I'm so glad I brought it up. Thank you guys. I really appreciate
that's what we like to chat about for sure. Getting new eyeballs on situations. Ryan Moe, what do you think about it?
What I would 100% put the original picture on there showing the beautiful pool. I would put in the public comments directly, pool currently not filled, needs new liner. Picture is maybe old, mention something like that. But if you're not showing people that beautiful pool, how it could look if they fix it up, you're nuts, completely nuts. I would definitely put that in there. People can, when they get there and see an empty pool, they're gonna turn around and be freaked out. But if you have that picture showing what exactly will look like with that new liner and water in there, kids playing, that's golden. You're missing a golden opportunity. Pools are such a rare thing in Minnesota right now. People need them.
Yeah.
When it's
People want
COVID
them.
and the
I
heat.
would kill for a pool right now.
I got a house that's open that has a pool. All it needs is a pool liner, right?
Yeah, well, I need money. That's probably out of my budget. But I would totally like. I mean, we have friends right down the street that our kids use their pool. My wife goes and cleans it every other day, just so we can use it. And I mean, it's a pain, but there's so few. Just do a search for houses with pools, and there's nothing. They're all $800,000, and it's
Man,
you're missing a huge opportunity not to put the picture with the beautiful pool. Put the picture with the beautiful pool. Your next picture is empty,
But
so
this-
everybody
Yeah.
knows. You get people in there. You're not getting. That's not bait and switch. You're putting it right in the disclosure. If somebody's too stupid to read the disclosure or the description, then that's their problem. You put it right there in the public remarks. Just put pool needs new liner. It's
And
not
then
your
put the
fault people
estimate and
don't read.
supplements.
You're
Yeah.
you could be costing your client thousands of dollars because you're worried people are too stupid to read the description. That's my opinion. If I'm going to be
I
blunt
like
about it.
that where you put both photos in and say, and then say, pool with the right price, with the full price offer, pool will be relined.
Yeah, or write it in.
Relined
You know.
and filled.
And if they don't want the pool and because it should be that people don't want that extra loan. They can't afford, they only can afford what they're taking on the loan, and they don't want to spend $4,000 after close. So it should be included in the offer. It should be part of the whole deal.
Yeah, I
and
mean,
this is a $270,000 house with a pool in the backyard. I mean,
Yeah.
It's gonna. You put that picture in there with the
You know how
nice
many
pool, how it
people
looks.
would
It's gonna
want
fly
that?
off the shelves.
Yep, at that price, good grief, for sure it would be worthwhile. Although we did look at a weird one I did look at one, I don't know if anybody else saw that, where they had one of those swimway pools in a really nice enclosed room, but it was very awkwardly added to the house. Very awkward. But it did get offers within 2 days. So there you go. I think
Well,
that
let
was a
everybody know
350 house.
what happened next week. So hopefully it's going to go on the market on August 3rd or 4th. And
Yeah.
see what happens.
Michael, we'll stay tuned for the next exciting adventure. Pool or no pool?
I'll show you the before, the after, and then the after pictures.
All right.
There you go.
Your mouth will hang open. Oh my God.
That's great.
Thank you guys for all of that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, super good stuff. That's a super good price. What city is that in?
That's in St. Paul Park.
Yeah,
Oh.
just make sure you got what is that gap coverage, appraisal gap coverage, because you'll have a zillion offers in this heat wave with people that don't understand that it might not appraise.
If you see one from Ryan Moe, be super sketched out.
What? Oh.
That's awesome. Any other listing questions or even buyer questions, negotiations, anything else you guys are going through?
I have one thing that I came on for, Neal, because I did get an offer. So I have this place in Woodbury priced at 136 a square foot, and it took forever to get an offer. I mean, in this market, right? A week is forever to get an offer because it's very dated. It's a 1979 built and nothing updated. And it also settled. So I also got we had an engineer's report that, yeah, it's settled. It's all stable. There's nothing. It's a very solid house. It's a very solid feeling house. I did end up getting a home partner's offer, but because it's an estate and we don't have the exact date when it can be sold, they said, no, we do not do probate estates. So now we are going to do some updating and re-offer to those buyers. I just heard from him today. We offer to them. I said, are they at the top of their budget, or otherwise we'll move forward with some bathroom and kitchen updates. And
For home partners?
and actually, and yeah,
Oh,
and
the updates
then
don't
have
matter.
them come back.
It's up to the closing date. They already gave you the
Yeah.
offer, so.
Right, but I mean, I don't want to get stuck with home partners coming in to do a appraisal and say nothing's updated. We're not
No, they
taking
see all
this.
the pictures.
There's no pictures of the baths in there.
Yeah,
I
I
don't have any
mean,
photos of baths.
that's not your
That's
concern. Your concern is the closing date. If you can't fix that, home partners is off the table.
Yeah, so that's fixable because we'll know in 2 weeks.
Perfect.
You
And
know,
that's all
but-
I would worry about.
Well, we're going ahead with some fix-ups just because, and then I told him it would be added onto the cost, and they're fine with that. But in case we get stuck, I mean, in case we get stuck with home partners denying, I don't want to waste this time and now not be able to offer to anybody else because they're not expensive. It's not expensive on our end to do the master bath and
I would cancel the listing and relist it then.
it's temporarily not available right now.
Yeah,
So-
you want to start over. If you're going to
Yeah.
try and work home partners again, I would start over and change the price.
Well, I would offer to them first and then go ahead and cancel and relist with new photos. But I just wondered if home partners ever comes in and asks for things to be done, or have you generally had them go, okay, this is fine. It's not, as far as all of the mechanicals working and all of that, if everything functions.
It is all over the place. Everything matters
Okay.
when talking about that. If they offer 450,000 and they are willing to go up to 480 and they get it for 450, I mean, that's going to go into consideration with the inspection.
Well, we're at 385 and it would still be below 400 with the bathrooms updated.
Yeah, what did they offer though?
385.
Okay. Up to what? Did they have an escalation?
No, they
Okay.
made a 385 offer. We accepted. Home partners said no because of the closing date. And so, but home partners hasn't done an inspection yet. And I don't want to have home partners come back and say, because I had a home partners person come through first and he said, oh my God, there's so many updates that are needed there. Home partners will never take it. Because I mean, we're talking 1979 bath, every sink is ugly. I mean, it's just an ugly, it's just not updated. So
Yeah, no, I get
it's
it.
cheaper, easier to do the updates than to get stuck.
Yeah, the reality is, if you had multiple offers, worry about getting stuck. But if HP is super freaking easy to work with, and there's no emotions. I'm not just going to walk away. It is what it is. If they've made an offer on it, I think you're past the outdatedness portion. The biggest thing is the close date, to
Yep.
be honest with you. And I would stick pictures of the bathroom on there, so then usually what happens is if an agent does an offer through home partners and there isn't pictures of the two bathrooms, they require them to even make the offer. So the agent could have taken pictures
Sure.
and
Okay.
sent it to them,
Yep.
because they want pictures of all the bathrooms and bedrooms to ensure that they exist.
Okay.
So if you're already at the offer part, the only thing you need to fix is the close date.
Okay.
And then title. Title can't be goofy.
No,
Yeah.
it's
It
a
can't
very
be a,
simple estate too. It's only one heir.
oh, cool. Yeah, it can't be a proceeding subsequent, you know, where
No,
it gets
Yeah.
held in title.
no,
Nothing goofy. That could kill
no,
the
it
deal the
isn't.
day of closing.
Yeah.
Also, Neil, didn't this come up recently that if you're going to do like a domino effect closing, don't have the home partners closing be before 3 p.m.
Good
No,
idea.
don't have the other closing before 3 p.m.
Oh, that's what I mean.
Yep.
Because the funds will not be released until after 3.
Well,
At least that's
can
what
be.
recently with.
Can be. Right. It's up to the
I just
agent when they,
right
because
to
what
protect
happens is,
yourself. Just
correct,
expect that 3 p.m. is probably your better time frame than the other one.
is the earliest you want to do. The latest you can close, if you're relying on HP, that day, the better, for sure. Because yeah, it's up to the agent. I mean, you just never know, Liz, right? Like
Yeah.
for they just changed it where you can go in as the buyer representing home partners the day before, if
And
it's after
pre-sign.
1 p.m. and take pictures. And typically HP, Realtek, they wire the funds so they're ready to go. They just need to get confirmation. So to expedite that process, have your sellers moved out the day before so that the agent can go and take pictures the day before, and then there shouldn't be an issue. But you're absolutely right, playing with fire if you're trying to domino close the same day as HP early in the day.
Just something to know that it's a good offer. Everything else is great, but something to think about when you're setting up your closings. Just
Mhm.
if you're
Yeah,
selling that home and you need those funds for a closing that
I
day.
don't. No,
Okay.
nothing like that because it's already empty and she already found a house.
Oh,
And
Okay, good. Well, just it was a
Paid for
minor bump
notice.
in a road is all, and I
Yeah.
learned from it. And it's okay. Just learning from those things helps.
Yep. Do you feel like Home Path or whatever their property management group, does anybody ever come back to you and say they're having problems after they've moved into a home partner's home? I'm curious because of information I found online.
Yeah, and there's a lot of them. So if you can imagine, I've been blessed to not have any crazy reviews from tenants. I'm very tenant friendly, but I only manage 100 properties. They manage
Wait.
17,000,
Okay. Yeah.
right? They became a landlord overnight. That's not their model. They want the people to end up buying the house. It's not required, but that's their want. So if you have 17,000 renters, and renters can be crazy, not in the bad way, I'm just saying, like expectations, and a lot of times it's the realtor's fault. And I'll throw myself out there and say, when I first started Home Partners, I'm like, oh, of course they're going to come and fix whatever needs to be fixed, and they're going to make it clean and blah, blah, blah. Little did I know, like, it's as is. Like, your expectation, and it's in the lease that you have to treat it like it's your own, minus big deals, right? Leaky pipe, right? Anything that hurts the property is obviously a big deal. And then safety stuff, furnace goes out, air conditioning goes out, water goes out, or whatever. That's stuff that they'll come and fix, but they're not going to come and fix a freaking cabinet that falls off. So it's all about the expectations, right? Yeah. So people ask me, and now I answer correctly. If something goes wrong, like, they will fix the big ticket items, or safety stuff, or property damaging problems, they will come and fix that. I wouldn't expect it to be cleaned. So I've offered, hey, if you want the carpets cleaned and stuff, when I go and take pictures and I notice they weren't that clean, I coordinate with the new tenants and say, hey, I'll get someone in there because it's worth it for me to make sure that they're happy. It's all about the expectations. Those renters online, a lot of them have valid issues, but we're talking about 17,000 properties to manage, which is a
Yeah.
freaking
Yeah, but it's across the U.S. with billions and billions of dollars of investment. So I don't feel sorry for them. I mean, they should be managing that. If you look at Yelp and the photos, they're disgusting, but they're almost all down south. So I wondered if, you know, in the Midwest, in Minnesota, there's better property managers. I think it's probably partially that is different areas have different expectations or property management.
yeah. And again,
And
if you
I didn't
do
see
the
anything from Minnesota, and I do have a home warranty, you know, with the seller's coverage on this place anyway. And I think we would just sell with the home warranty no matter what, so that,
I would
you know,
take that
'cause we're
off.
talking
I
a
don't know
kitchen with appliances from 15 years ago. You know, they're not.
whether or not HP would keep track of a home warranty. I'd say save your $500.
They
Unless
wouldn't
you
give
want
it. Yeah, but you'd give the details to the tenant. Wouldn't it be able to be run through that?
The realtor would have to,
Yeah.
whether or not they would or not. I'd save the $500, put into the bathroom if it were me. But yes, and you know, if you do the math, they've been in business for X number of years. There is turnover, so there's way more than 17,000 renters, right? I mean, it is what it is. Should they do better? Yeah, we've been talking about it for a while. Have they gotten better? I think so.
But
know,
you
and
aren't having a lot of complaints with your buyers.
correct.
You generally don't have to.
No, I set the expectations. So I tell them, like, if something crazy happens and they don't come and fix it, then call me. You know, I got people. But
The other thing too is that Neal is thinking of this as like these are his future clients as tenants. So if a little bit of time, energy, and care, he's not going to lose track of them. Just because the Home Partners is now their technical landlord, Neal's building a business here, so he's keeping in touch. They should call him sometimes, and he can, if he can't smooth it over a couple. At least I'm assuming, right, Neal? Like that's part of what you're doing is these people are still your future clients.
yeah, especially if they don't buy a Home Partner's house, which is most of them. You know, we're going to go shopping for a house in a year, 2 years.
And they recommend him to their friends who are in the same situation as them. So like, you don't just drop these people after. These are definitely people you want to stay in touch with.
Right, but when you said most of them don't buy the Home Partner's house, how come is that? Neal?
I think the answer to that is really simple. Most people who do even rent to own do not end up buying the house. And part of that is that they've lived there and they know all the faults of that house. And then they start thinking, well, we're ready to buy now, so maybe we could do better. So I don't think it's anything very esoteric or anything. It's just kind of like a fundamental people thing, in my opinion.
Okay, I mean, because there's a lot of earnest money down, you know, more than a normal deal that I see. So
but if you don't buy, I think you get that back if you don't buy. It's just a deposit. It's not a contract.
You get it back, Neal?
Yeah, based on damages to the property. So that's the inherent difference with Home Partners and contract for deeds and typical rent to owns is the deposit. You know, they don't force you to purchase it. There's no negative to not purchasing the property. You can walk away from it just like a regular rental and get your security deposit back minus any damages. Why they're not buying it is very simple. Home Partners gets paid, right? So they add on a percentage to their purchase price. Their purchase prices right now are insane. But again, what I tell people is like, if it works and the numbers work, then do it. If it doesn't work, you don't have to. You know, we'll go shopping for another house in a year or whatever. So, like perfect example, my people last year, I was like, in my brain, I'm like, this would never be a good option to buy it. This, because you don't know what the market's going to do, but how can it be even crazier? Well, sure enough, it got crazier. So people are walking into equity. Home Partners doesn't change their price, whether it goes up or down via an appraisal. So, people in Denver, they were making out like freaking bandits because they got Home Partners as a cash buyer, buy the house the next year. it's up 10-20% just because of the market, you know, Home Partners doesn't change their price. But in Chicago, it went the other way. Market tanked, and no one could appraise. They're not going to adjust their purchase price. They're going to let you move on to a different house, buy a different house, or whatever, and then re-rent it. So do I recommend it to anyone that that's an amazing plan? It's only an amazing plan if it ends up being an amazing plan. You know, I don't enjoy talking about the lease with right to purchase side of Home Partners, except that it's an option because there's so many variables. With the rent, I know exactly what the rent's going to be no matter what Home Partners buys the house for. Everything changes based on what Home Partners buys the house for, what they put into the house in regards to make ready, etc. I mean, they do give the tenant all of the worst case, I would say, like the very worst case, high end, like if we do X, Y, and Z, if we pay this amount, this is what your purchase price would be, your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they're very upfront with it. But you don't even know what the end purchase price is going to be until 90 days of move-in. So the reality is I just don't talk much about that because I don't know facts. I love talking facts, and I don't know what the facts are except that that number can change, and you won't know that number until 90 days of move-in. But if I can be real, most of my people just want to rent anyway, so it's fine, you know. But if it works out, they love the house and the price works, then they can buy it anytime after 90 days. So, and Home Partners is totally cool with that. They're totally cool with people renting.
You're still giving people a unique opportunity, and especially because there is no demand that they purchase. They're not, when they're signing up, they're not saying, yes, this is my forever home.
Yes.
So as long as we're really upfront about all of that and people understand the parameters, it seems like a really good idea. I know for some of the people that I've worked with who have used these kinds of programs, what happens is that many of them have not owned homes before. So this gives them an option to own it and yet still not be on the hook in a way, as Neal points out, for the large mechanicals and that kind of thing. But a lot of these people have not owned anything, and they need to learn all about how to take care of a home. And this is a good start for many people.
And then they can decide that renting is a good thing from there on in.
Exactly.
Yeah, or renting or buying or whatever. They can do whatever they want. That's where it's like the whole path to talking about the lease to purchase price and how it works is very, you don't know. That's why I hate talking about it. I mean, I have no idea what the end purchase price is going to be. The number they get before even signing anything, before we even get the offer to present a seller, that number is typically the worst case scenario. Well, I know it is, you know, because inspection negotiations change that number lower if there are any. What they actually spend in the make ready is usually not even close to that high. So I just straight up tell them, like, hey, if it works, you'll know 90 days in the final purchase price, just because it's 100% unknown, but this is the worst case. So if it works, great, and you love the house and you want to take advantage of buying it anytime after 90 days, that's fine. But if not, you don't have to. So I try not going down that road unless I have some inclination that they want to buy it. So a lot of people recently have been asking, like, hey, if you guys are buying the house, can we buy it from them? And yeah, you can anytime after 90 days. You know, just leave it simple. But they're super transparent guys. They freaking tell you the year one rent, and that doesn't change no matter what they pay the house for or what they buy the house for. And then the anticipated purchase price goes off of the highest price that they're willing to pay for the house. So they might not even pay that, right? So that changes from day one. So, but they are very transparent. And even the lease says, they're to treat it like their own, etc. So.
Okay.
Neal, has anybody heard about lumber prices dropping 68% and that the showings have decreased 3 weeks in a row now? Do we have any take on how that's affecting making offers, doing listings? Has anybody heard? Has the bubble popped? Anybody know anything?
I mean, it's gone down, I think, weekly. Randy, are you still there, buddy? Or does anyone else have any input on that?
I don't think it's
down.
popped. I had 2 listings last. I don't think it's popped, you guys. I think we're gonna deflate. It's been a deflation, but I thought for sure that would deeply impact. My last couple listings have all gone into multiple still. I got a cash offer, 23,000 over asking. The property ended up selling 100 grand more than it did 3 years ago. And it was a townhome.
Oh wow, that's great.
So I don't think we should run around with ideas of popping, but yeah, there's been a slight deflation, but to be honest, it had to at some point. We couldn't keep going at that pace. There's no way any market could sustain the pace we were at over the last 17 months.
I think in June, they said that things had, the number of sales had gone down 6.6%. So while I would say that certainly isn't a bubble popping, it's again a real indicator that sustainability is a factor and that people are really not going to be able to keep up with this climbing of prices.
And I had several buyers walk away over the last couple of weeks that are just like, I can't keep this up. But I think in 3 to 6 months, they'll be back because the market will have enough of a change to get buyers more enticed again. But I don't know. I mean, I've got 2 listings this week, so we're pretty confident we're still going to go into multiples with at least 5% over asking.
Yeah, and I think we talked about this last week. I'd be reaching out to old buyers ASAP because there are houses that are kicking it on the market for a minute. Sellers that you can't talk into, not that you talk into them, but like showing them the data that starting way too high where multiples would end is not the right pricing strategy. They still want to do it. And they're hanging out on the market, price drops.
I had a weird bubble. There was like, God, now what was it? They all closed at the end of June, but I had a bubble where I got 4 deals in 10 days, all because the houses were on the market more than 3 to 5 days, and we were the only offer on the table.
All day.
So like, there's this idea. If you have buyers right now that are exhausted, don't take them to anything that hasn't been on the market more than 3 days. Just don't bother. That's what I started doing. Like, if you're not going to play this game, if you don't have the money to play the game or you're exhausted, just don't go look at a house that hasn't been on the market more than 3 to 5 days, you guys.
For sure. And, there's searches you can set up to where those are the only ones you're sending them. Obviously, they're seeing the other ones. But like what I tell people is like, hey, we have a really good shot at getting this one. Is it something you're interested in? I mean, those are the ones you got to work harder. I mean, it was easy last year. Last year, you get a buyer, you're going to get a closing. This year, you got to freaking work. Not saying that's bad or good. It's just, it is what it is, You got to not just send listings. You got to dig through them as well. So. All right, very good.
Hey, I saw that
today.
Same advertisement about lumber going down 62%, and so I called into a supplier. So I know that that's like a price that went from lumber mills to lumber yards, and then it still hasn't trickled down to the end user. So the end buyer is only about 5 to 7% less than June. But when you guys are talking about stats, I'm wondering. Remember, you got fast stats in your at SPAR or MAR or whatever your association is right on their website, so you can see real data instead of a bunch of speculation,
Yeah,
sure.
Very true.
Good point.
Awesome, guys. Well, I appreciate you all. Thanks for coming. I love the masterminding. It's very good to get different eyes and different experiences on different situations. And then to have Randall here is just...
Yeah, that's great.
Just such a good thing.
These are great.
If any of
Absolutely
you,
fantastic.
if any of you want to talk down payment assistance for your buyers that are struggling too, there's cities and counties that have money nobody's asking for. Like the city of Plymouth has $25,000 to give buyers. Now they have to have pretty tight income requirements, but 25 grand that just sits there with no payment, no interest is pretty nice to get your buyer maybe a step away. There's a down payment assistance handout I can share if anybody has buyers that need that help and are ready for it. Just let me know and I'll just share the link with you. It's just a Google Doc I made.
That's awesome.
Thanks.
Very nice.
Good stuff, guys. Remember to email Ray Lind any questions that you have for next week. I'm out. We'll see you
Thank you.
guys.
Thank you. Have a great
Okay.
week, everybody. Keep it cool.
Thank you.
All right. See ya.